What's going on, everyone? So, per Jake Fisher and several reports, Jonas Valanciunas is officially available via trade, that the Washington Wizards are exploring trade options for Jonas Valanciunas. Now, he can't be traded till December 15th. So, Tyler, why would he be available for trade now? Well, so that way you can kind of be patient, kind of work through whatever you need to work through, kind of evaluate and see which teams are interested in Valanciunas, what kind of the market is shaping up to look like, what are teams willing to kind of give up asset-wise to acquire a Valanciunas, right? Like, it makes sense now. You're 2 weeks, 2.5, 3 weeks at most away from officially being able to finalize the trade. So you want to start having those conversations, start having those discussions, kind of evaluating, okay, the most we're going to get is 2 seconds for him. Or, maybe a team does come in and go, hey, you know what, we'll give you a first for Valanciunas, right? It's in Washington's best interest to kind of start the negotiation process a couple weeks out from when he's officially available, rather than like, okay, well, now we can do it, right? Like, you want to get the assets, kind of figure out, work out the trade market. Obviously, the Wizards don't have to be in a rush to trade him. Obviously, the Wizards don't necessarily have to trade him, right? He just signed a new contract. They can be patient. But obviously, if you can kind of get the deal done sooner rather than later, you get it done sooner rather than later, continue to tank, get your draft pick, all of that. And Valanciunas has been linked to the Lakers probably more than any center this past offseason. Obviously, LeBron James was willing to kind of take a discount in order to sign Valanciunas, but he ended up immediately, before anyone even had a chance, right, like ended up signing that deal with the Washington Wizards. And the Wizards' plan was always to trade him, right? I'm sure Valanciunas was familiar and aware at that time. I don't think the Wizards, surprise, right? Like, I think all sides kind of knew, like, hey, this is the deal. We're going to give you this contract. He didn't want to wait. He wanted to get his bag, get his money, and now teams will go in and bid for a Valanciunas, right? I don't know what the market will be. I don't know how many teams are going to go after Valanciunas. There is a lot of centers on the market right now, which is good. A lot of them are pricey. A lot of them lack defense. I have said, and I still kind of maintain, I do believe the most likely center trade is Valanciunas. I do think that, Tyler, what's the center that you think will be wearing purple and gold by the trade deadline? I do think the safe bet is Valanciunas. That doesn't mean that the Lakers won't get, a Day'Ron Sharpe from the Nets if they're working out another deal, or, end up getting a Vu or whoever, right? Like, there's obviously, again, several options on the trade market. They've also been linked to guys like, Robert Williams and stuff, right? So I don't rule out the potential of somebody else. And look, Valanciunas isn't like my favorite option, but he is cheap enough to where you can acquire him. He does solve a need. Great rebounder, right? Can give you buckets. The guy go give you a double-double off the bench, even in limited minutes. He can stretch the floor a little bit. He can make plays out of the post, which is where I think the value really is for him, because he's a guy you can dump the ball down to, slot him alongside Anthony Davis, and just Anthony Davis is the help defender. He's going to be able to mask a lot of just the lack of defense that Valanciunas has, particularly the rim protection. But Valanciunas is a guy that, he can make plays. Kick out the kick out pass and find the outlet guy, right? Throw it up to LeBron James or Anthony Davis, hit the cutting man, right? Like, Valanciunas is a guy that you can run different actions, different sets with. His ability to step out, knock down, the 15-footer or whatever. But he's also making $10 million. Right, and it's like I've talked about, you look at Vucevic and, some of these other centers that are on the market. I've talked about Jakob Poeltl, right? Like, guys like that before. But, all these guys are $20 million, and it's like, okay, well, you could get them, but now you're limited on the other pieces because you need more than just a center, right? I mean, you need some help out on the perimeter in particular, where if you get a Valanciunas, him being $10 million, you can still go do other things, like I've talked about, right? Like, you look at a Vucevic making $20 million compared to Valanciunas, right? Like, you can get Valanciunas and a Dorian Finney-Smith for $3 million more than just Valanciunas by himself, right? So literally, you could throw in a Jalen Hood-Schifino and now get a 3-and-D Wayne along with a center that could be your backup and versatile. Also, somebody like a Vucevic, somebody or any of these guys that are like, 18, 20, 23 million. Brook Lopez is another one, right? He's 23 million. Right? Like these guys, you're gonna have to start. Right? You're really bringing off a 20 million guy off the bench? Probably not. Right? And then LeBron, is he going to be willing to play small forward? Is it even best to put LeBron James at the small forward? He's played small forward in spots this season, but to have him essentially start and close at the small forward position, are you going to end up wearing him down and kind of gassing him out as the season progresses? Where you're better off kind of just keeping him at the 4, Anthony Davis at the 5 to start. Then you make your adjustments accordingly. Where a guy like Valanciunas, he's coming off the bench for the Wizards most of the time even, right? Like he's a guy that can come in, slot in. He's not going to rock the boat. He's going to be okay. You can justify it. He's making $10 million. It's not, he's not making 20, 25 million where it's like, man, do we really bring that kind of salary off the bench? Which I've talked about. I don't care how much you're making. If the best option for the team is you coming off the bench, then that's what you got to do, right? Like, I don't think you should make decisions based on solely contract. I think it's what's best for the team, right? Like D'Lo coming off the bench is probably what's best for the team, right? I've talked about Rui, I think should be coming off the bench, and Dalton Connect should continue to start, right? And but if you're just basing it solely on salary, well then, you have to start Rui, and you should start D'Lo, right, over Cam Reddish, right? Like, I think that, if you get a guy in a Valanciunas, he can slot in, be your backup center. On any given night, could step up and be your starting center. On some nights, you're playing Denver, right? And, you have a guy in Valanciunas that you can slot alongside Anthony Davis and go bigger. Right? It's the flexibility, but also you can go make other moves. That's the big thing. Valanciunas, you're not giving up a first for Valanciunas. If somebody wants to give up a first for Valanciunas, well, good luck to them. Let them do that, right? Like the Knicks, I could see maybe being interested in Valanciunas. But are they really giving up a first for Valanciunas? Probably not, right? And if they do, well, then all the more power to you. Right? I mean, you could argue they might because they gave up 5 firsts for Mikal Bridges, and look how that's working out for them so far, right? Like he's had his struggles. He has not looked great, right? So, there's definitely a concern, but there are, again, several options on the trade market, and even cheaper options, right? Nick Richards and Day'Ron Sharpe, and then obviously Walker Kessler, which is still my favorite option. It's still the option that I would prefer, but I think, you look at Valanciunas, you look at a Vucevic, right? You look at a Brook Lopez, like these guys. Personally, give me a Valanciunas. It's not about like, okay, who's better or anything like that. It's just your need is a backup center, right? Like your need is that. But you also have other needs in other areas. And which guy gives me the best option to go get those other needs? Valanciunas does. Which option is probably the cheapest? Valanciunas probably is. As far as like asset-wise goes. Which guy makes and gives us the most flexibility? Valanciunas does. Right? Like, he's a guy that, does he solve what we need? Absolutely. Right? Obviously, again, you'd like some of the rim protection, but there's flaws with all. Valanciunas is, not Valanciunas, Vucevic is not great rim protector, right? He can block shots, but so can Valanciunas, right? But they're not known as these great defensive centers, right? Brook Lopez, yes, he is, but he's had his struggles this season. Also, he's 36 years old, right? Like, it's just, and he's making $23 million. He's making more than any of them, right? And then, Clint Capella is another one, right? Like, I like Clint Capella. The only thing I like about Clint Capella more than anything is that he's an expiring contract, so he gives you flexibility there and on that front. And if it works, great. You can sign him to like a Valanciunas level deal. But if it doesn't work, you can just let him walk and it's okay. It's not the end of the world. But like, again, it's another hefty contract. It's another hefty cost and price, right? So it's just like, is it worth taking that, right? Like, I think Valanciunas is the right approach. I do think that that's probably who ends up. Again, if you can get a Day'Ron Sharp in a Nets deal, right, by getting a Dorian Finney-Smith or a Cam Johnson or both, right? Cool, go do that, right? If you can get a Walker Kessler, that's my favorite. Go get that, right? Like, if you can get a Nick Richards, yeah, go get that, right? Like, if you can get a younger, cheaper option, then yeah, go get the younger, cheaper option. But I just think that, the asking prices on a lot of those guys are probably going to be pretty hefty, right? A lot of those guys are probably going to cost you just more than what it would cost you to get Valanciunas, and you still have flexibility and options to go make other moves and go make other trades. So I do think Valanciunas is probably the guy that ends up being a Laker. But again, we'll see. Time will tell. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you think, Valanciunas is going to end up being a Laker? Do you think, no, it's got to be somebody else? Do you think, we'll see? You kind of mixed in the middle area. Again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are. I'd love to hear it either way, so let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. Helps me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.